Hello everyone, I'm Rhonda and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I have about 4 books that I want to talk about that I recently read that I think you guys should read too. So in today's video, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to do a recent reads video. So far we're in the middle of April and I've read 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books and I'm in the middle of 2, but 4 of those books were exceptional and I really wanted to do a little mini wrap up so that I can talk about these books just because some of them are new releases and then one of them or 2 of them is going to be released very soon. So strap in, let's get started. Okay, I have 4 books I want to talk about. And the first one is The Love Haters by Catherine Center. Now, I got this physical art copy from a friend of mine who happens to be the librarian at our daughter's middle school. And she was actually in Dallas a few weeks ago for a librarian convention for Texas librarians, and Catherine Center was there. So she got to meet her and take a photo, and she said she was absolutely lovely and she couldn't have been more gracious. But my friend told Catherine Center that I was the one who introduced her to her books, and she was able to, I don't know if she got this just for me or if Catherine Center just gave it to her, but she had this signed just for me by Catherine Center, and she gave this to me and I was almost in tears. I could not believe that that happened. So thank you so much to Catherine Center for signing this for me, and also to my friend Reagan for giving this to me because she could have absolutely kept this. I would have. Which makes me a bad friend, I don't know. I do love Catherine Center books. They're so much fun. The characters are always quirky. They always have great inner monologues, and I just love them. So let's talk about this book. This one comes out on May 20th, so it's not out yet, but I would say definitely go run and get a copy because it's worth the buy. And this is about Katie, who works as a video producer, and she's actually about to get laid off. A coworker of hers knows that she's very talented and wants her to stick around, so he gives her a project where she needs to go to Key West and film a promo video for the Coast Guard. However, the problem with that is she doesn't know how to swim, and that's a big issue because she's going to need to know how. So she ends up going to Key West and she meets Hutch, who is the person she's supposed to interview, and obviously he's hot and good looking, and she gets him to help her learn to swim, and obviously you know how this is going to end. I thought that this was so fun. I was laughing out loud so much. I was on the edge of my seat at the end and I was just sighing. I think this book really captured everything that I like about Catherine Center books, and that is, yes, they are rom-coms. They're lighthearted and fluffy and fun. Catherine Center also writes characters who has really funny inner monologues. Like the banter that the characters have with themselves is hilarious. I love that about her book. And then on top of that, her book sometimes has obviously a problem that the main characters are trying to overcome. And one of the big problems that is introduced in the beginning of the book is the fact that Katie has body image issues. She's very negative. She has very negative feelings about her body, and it really impacts her life and how she dresses and how she presents herself. And through the course of the book, she is dealing with that and trying to love herself and love her body. And I really appreciated that because I think a lot of us women can relate to that. I know I can. I really appreciated how she tackled that in here. At the end of the book, the main character does something that really brought a tear to my eye because I think a lot of women need to do what she does, and that's appreciate who you are, because you only get one body and that body is unique to you, and you need to take care of it obviously and eat healthy, but just love you, love everything about yourself. So overall, I really enjoyed this book. I loved Katie. I loved the romance between Katie and Hutch. I thought their blossoming relationship was very sweet and funny and cute, and it had me sighing, which is everything I look for in a rom-com. Not only do I want to laugh, but I want to sigh and giggle and kick my feet. And also what I loved about this was the fact that Hutch was a Coast Guard. I think Catherine Center did a lot of research on the Coast Guard, and you can tell that it shows. I have not read any books about Coast Guards, and I want to read more. If you are a Coast Guard or you know someone who is a Coast Guard, thank you so much for everything you do, or anyone in the military. So overall, I really love this one. I think you all definitely need to rush out and get this book once it comes out on May 20th. I think I settled on 4 stars with this book. I loved it. I do think that I love the rom-commers a little bit more, and also The Bodyguard a little bit more. Also too, I have not read her entire backlist, so I can't really rank them. I still have like like 4 or 5 books that she's written that I haven't read yet. I'm anxious to get to those, but love this. Definitely recommend it. The next book I want to talk about is the very first book that I read in April, and this was on the top of my most anticipated reads for the year, and I actually think it was on everyone's most anticipated books of the year, and that is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. And I actually got the Barnes & Noble special edition, and I think the only thing that is special about it are these really pretty end pages. It says everything starts with you, and then on the back it says and ends with you. And if you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about. But I really enjoyed this book. I love pretty much all of Abby Jimenez's books, but this one is about Xavier and Samantha, and they have a pretty interesting meet cute. They kind of start off on the wrong foot. Xavier is actually a veterinarian, and he just does and says the wrong thing, and she leaves and calls him an a-hole. However, they end up meeting up again at the vet office, and things, I don't want to say too much because I really think in this book you really need to go in not knowing a whole lot. But they end up meeting up again, and he asks her out, and they have this amazing date. And really the whole book, they are trying to figure out where they stand in a relationship and how they can do a relationship given what is going on in Sam's life. So that is really all you need to know. I really enjoyed this. So let's talk about Abby Jimenez. Abby Jimenez books, I have learned, are just unforgettable romances. She has a knack for making just everyday life funny. She has a knack for making you care for characters who have real problems and real issues like mental health, or they're dealing with grief, or they're dealing with panic attacks and anxiety. She just knows how to write those books so well, and I love her for them. With this one, I loved it. I did. I've been hearing some mixed reviews on, and I get why people may not have liked it as much as Just for the Summer. For me, Just for the Summer, which was her last new release, is at the tippy top. I don't think she's ever going to be able to top that book. That one, she just ripped my heart out, plain and simple. But I settled on giving this one 4 stars. I really loved the dynamic between Xavier and Sam. I thought they communicated so well. Like they were always talking to each other and trying to figure out how they were going to handle this new relationship with each other and what they wanted out of the relationship. Love that. I think all books should have that. It really drives me crazy when people don't talk, because I feel like 99.9% of the problems can be solved if you just have a conversation like an adult. But let me get off my soapbox. I love their relationship. I thought it was great. My main issue was I just didn't feel the things that I think Abby Jimenez was wanting me to feel. So in this book, I didn't cry at all. But that's okay. I still love this book. It was not a 5-star read like Just for the Summer. I settled on 4 stars, and I think it's still a great book, and I think it's a book that you guys should read if you haven't already. And what's great about this too is at the back of the book you get a few pages of her next novel, and it sounds like this is going to be part of another interconnected series, and I'm so excited about that. But Abby Jimenez, just like Catherine Center, they are my auto-buy books. I'm going to buy them just anytime they have a new book come out. I'm going to buy it, I'm going to read it, and I'm probably going to love it. And that's the same for this one. I loved it, and I highly recommend it. All right, the next book I want to talk about is actually a book that I picked when I did my TBR. Prompt Jar helps me pick my spring TBR video. I think that was the last video I posted, and that is The Passion Project by London Sperry. Let's first take a moment and admire this beautiful cover. I love vibrant colors on a cover. I think it's just screams spring, and it's so pretty, and that's why I picked this for my spring TBR. But you guys, this was a 5-star read for me, which is crazy because I have not given out very many 5 stars. I don't know what it was about this book, but it just really hit me when I needed it. And I urge you guys to go check this out from the library, go buy a copy, join Book of the Month, and get your copy. Whatever you need to do, read it. It's so much fun. This is about Bennett, who lives in New York City, and she's really lost her passion for everything. Her job, her career, life in general, her friendships, just because she is dealing with depression and debilitating grief. One day with her friend's help, she agrees to join this dating app, and she agrees to go on a date with this guy. And unfortunately, she does not meet up with him. She stands him up, and his name is Henry. Well, somehow they end up meeting up again, and he kind of learns what she's going through and sees that she just kind of lost her zest for life and she needs help. And he decides that he's going to be her friend. He's going to help her find her passion in life, hence the name Passion Project. So they spend the course of this book just doing fun things in New York City together. He's teaching her how to love life, love herself, get back just to living, you know, and this was so good. I think this really touched on what it's like to deal with grief, to where it really takes hold of you, to where you don't want to take a shower, you don't want to wash your hair, you don't want to do the basics of life. And I really think the author did a great job of explaining that. Grief can be very debilitating. It can really take over you, and obviously it can cause some pretty severe depression, which is what our main female character is dealing with. I loved that Henry was such a golden retriever. He was there. He was making plans with her. He was really trying to help her and to be the friend that she needed. This book just really handled the heavy emotions of grief and depression just with tenderness and with care. But at the same time, this book was incredibly funny. This is a rom-com. I was laughing out loud a lot in this book. I just thought it was great. I mean, the characters in this book are flawed, they are funny, but they're human, and I could relate to all of them, and I just loved it. I know some people probably I know a lot of people gave this 3 or 4 stars because they didn't like some of the actions of Bennett around the end of the book, and I can see that, but I think if you've ever had to deal with grief and have it consume you, then you would understand that sometimes you don't have control over some of your things you say, over your actions. You want people to feel the same pain you're feeling. And at the same time, you say things to push people away because you don't want people to come. I hope this makes sense, but I understood Bennett. I knew what she was going through. Overall, I love this book so much. I laughed, I cried, and this book was heartbreaking. And it's a story that's going to stay with me, and it's a book that I'm going to recommend to you guys. I settled on giving this one 5 stars. I thought it was fantastic. And what's interesting too is this is a debut author, and this book did not read like a debut novel. I loved it. Definitely go out and read this book because it was a 5-star read for me. All right, the next book I'm going to talk about is a book I actually just finished last night, and it was my add-on for Book of the Month, and that is The Bright Years by Sarah DeMoth. And just like The Passion Project by London Sperry, this is also a debut novel for this author. And I can't even believe that a debut author wrote this book. This was an amazing book. This is a contemporary fiction, and here we are following the POV of 3 different people. First, we're following Lillian, who you're kind of following her as she meets her future husband. She falls in love with him, they get married, and they have a baby named Georgette. And then probably around the halfway mark, you're going to follow Georgette for a little while, and then at the end, you're going to follow Ryan, who is Lillian's husband. So Ryan and Lillian are, in the beginning of the book, they meet, they fall in love, they get married. However, during their marriage, you start seeing cracks. These are 2 people who are intensely in love with each other, but they have secrets. One is, and I'm not giving anything away because it's on the flap of the book, but Lillian has a secret child that she had and gave up for adoption that she never told Ryan about. And Ryan is actually hiding the fact that he is an alcoholic. And so that is what this book is about. It's how those tiny cracks create major trauma in a marriage and how that affects their daughter, Georgette, and how it affects just their nucleus of a family. Okay, that's all you need to know about this book. And I honestly don't know where to begin. This was a stunning debut novel. I mean, I am just floored by this book. I think that, well, right off the bat, this is a book that completely gutted me. It destroyed me. The author took the heart right out of my chest, threw it on the floor, stomped around on it, and threw it back in my chest. And I can't promise that she put it back together because by the end, I was just crying uncontrollably. I had tissues all around me. It was not a pretty sight. Anyway, this is just a powerful family saga that dives deep into the choices we make as adults and how they affect, you know, the next generations. And I think she did a great job of covering that. I liked how she also tackled alcoholism, and it was very honest and unflinching, and it exposed the powerful truths that are hard to face when you're dealing with someone who has alcoholism or addiction. I'm very lucky that no one in my family is an alcoholic or has been addicted to anything, but I know I have friends who have lost parents to alcoholism, and it's no joke. I mean, it is a disease that just does not let up, and it is a lifelong disease that you never get over. So I really think that she did a great job of explaining what alcoholism is like for not only, you know, a woman who loves her husband, but also a child who sees her dad drunk all the time. So also too, the story is about love and forgiveness. It is how messy and complicated that love can be, and how hard it is to forgive people, especially your partner or a parent. Go read this book. I don't know how to explain it better. It's just so well done. And then the writing in this was lyrical without being flowery. I feel like every word that she wrote, and this is actually less than 300 pages, so it's a very short story, but I feel like every line, every word served a purpose. It was just exceptional writing. The characters felt so vivid, so real. The characters in this book are nobody special. You know, they're just normal people living their lives, and they could be the family that lives next door to you or the family that lives across the street from you. They're just normal people who behind closed doors have these things going on, and they're trying to deal with it. And I love that. They felt vivid, they felt real, and I felt like I could hear their voices in my head. And I think any author who can develop characters who feel that way to a reader is, I want to read more from this author. I am going to be the first in line to buy her next book. It was that good. Go get your copy on April 22nd, read it, and comment below and let me know what you thought about it. All right, my friends, that's all I have for you today. These are the 4 books that I wanted to talk to you about. These are my 4 favorite books so far for the month. And again, these are all new releases or soon to be released books. And I highly recommend every one of them. They were so good. I enjoyed them all in their own way. And my favorite was The Bright Years. I think you all should definitely read that when it comes out. But thank you all so much for watching. If you read any of these, please let me know in the comment what you thought. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And then also too, if you haven't read these yet and there is a book that you have read so far this month that you really love, that you think that I might like, then definitely comment below. I'm always looking for new books. And if you don't want to comment, you just want to let me know that you made it here to the end, you watched the video, you liked it, give me a sun emoji for The Bright Years. There's a little sun here, and that way I know you guys watched until the very end. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.